Hi, it's me Ryan here, and today we will be taking a look at MSI's new X570 motherboard, which is called the X570 MPG Carbon Gaming Pro Wi-Fi. It's between an overkill motherboard in the X570 line and then the not so overkill one, which is the more affordable, something like the Gaming Plus. It has PCIe 4.0 support and Wi-Fi 6 support too, which is all the brand new technologies that came with X570. The power delivery also would be good enough to handle the insane CPUs that came out by AMD, which is a 3900X. I have really trusted this brand for many years by now, and this is my third board as I almost upgrade every single year. So, let's get right into the video, starting with the price. In Singapore, you can find this board for about 429 SGD. For my US viewers, it's 25.99, which is about $260 USD. On Amazon. And yes, this is in the slightly higher range of motherboards in MSI's platform. Now let's take a look at the rear I/O of this motherboard. Jumping right into the I/O of this board. From the top left, there's a BIOS flashback button, a PS2 port for your trackball mouse with two USB 2.0 ports, 4 USB Gen 1 Type A ports, Wi-Fi antenna connectors, 1 GPS LAN port with USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type C port, along with your audio connectors. Moving on to a super detailed walkthrough of the internal connectors. Starting from the bottom left, you have your front panel audio connectors, your first ARGB connector. It may not be labeled as an ARGB connector, but it is. The TPM controller, 4 system fan connectors, power LED connector for light demonstration power input thing. Is a bit weird, let's ignore that one for now. 2 USB 2.0 ports, first 2 SATA 6GB ports, front panel connectors, and last of all, another ARGB connector, which somehow is always labeled rainbow. Now, starting from the bottom right up, there's 2 USB 3.0 connectors, 2 banks of SATA 6GB connectors, 24-pin power connector, system fan connector, and a water pump connector. This is where you'll plug in your AIO pump too. At the top right, you'll find your Corsair connector that can be used to work with something like the Corsair Lightning Note Pro, where it gives you 4 RGB strips they can put in your system. This is quite nice as you don't need to go buy like the Commander Pro or something like that, or buy a Corsair case just to use a Corsair Lightning Note Pro. And also you have your CPU power connectors, which is an 8x4. Now, for a new segment of motherboard testing. How loud is a chipset fan? Well, when it boots before it pulses, the chipset fan is running at maximum RPM, which is quite loud even though it's in the case. However, once it pulses, it eventually stops spinning. Ah, there it is. Damn, that fan is loud. Okay, the fan dies down after a while. That's not bad. It also varies in speed depending on your workload. Most of all, when you're like using Premiere Pro and all those, it barely spins. But when you're gaming, I do notice it as it does spin, but you don't really hear the sound inside your casing. I also do notice that the fan is replaceable, as there's a small connector over there that can disconnect the fan from the motherboard, then you can swap it out for a new one. Great design choice by MSI here. For looks, it has a crap ton of RGB all over the board. It has a small amount of RGB at the top left hand corner of the board, which is just on top of like your power delivery area there, and another side of like RGB which is underneath the right hand side of the board. However, these LEDs are not as bright as the one that's on the left, on the top left. You can also add more RGB strips with 2 ARGB ports and 1 normal RGB port, which is the 4-pin one. The board also has carbon fiber accents all over the place. Well, I don't think it's real carbon fiber, it looks like it's just plastic one, but it does give it an additional premium feel. The areas around the chipset fan is made of metal also. This will help with heat dissipation from your M.2 SSDs and the chipset, as this chipset at max load will be pushing out 15 watts of power. It also has a rather mute color scheme which doesn't have any weird accents or anything, so it will pair well with most components in the market today. Unless you're trying to do an all-white build, in that case there isn't many X570 boards which are just purely white. Some important notes for the new X570 chipset that this board is using. First of all, first gen Ryzen processors and Ryzen processors with integrated graphics, which is something like Vega graphics, those are not supported on this board, unfortunately. So if you do have like a 1600 or a G processor, you won't be able to use it with this board. Overall, this is quite a decent board for those who like RGB in their system, which is similar to what I have here as the board is on in there. You also get the brand new PCIe Gen 4 Experience 2, which is quite new in the market. It's not many GPU wise supported, only the AMD graphics cards such as the 5700 XT. But the main reason why you would want PCIe Gen 4 would be for larger bandwidths outdoors, like for our PCIe based SSDs on a 10 gig or 20 gig network card when that comes out. And yes, the price range for this board is in the premium range, so it's slightly higher than the Gaming Plus. So if you say you want to spend a bit less, you could go for an MSI Gaming Plus, or you can just go for a B450 chipset as well, as that works fine, but then you'll be losing PCIe Gen 4 and Wi-Fi 6. If you want one tier down from this board, which is like slightly less expensive, you could go for the Gaming Edge Wi-Fi instead, which is slightly cheaper. There's a bit less RGB on the board. You'll be still getting the same performance in terms of power delivery wise and how the chipset fan performs.